In the chapter number 5, we're going to talk about the structures arising after exchanging the pieces on d5, when black would take the white's knight. There are two types of recapturing from whites. It's c takes d5 and e takes d5. So c takes d5 we're going to look at next chapter, chapter number 6, and with e takes d5 we talk about e takes d5 we talk right now. Very, very important navigation key inside a very huge file here is the diagram. So there are a few diagrams which will really help you to see the most important positions and the most important ideas for white and black to be known. So I just pass through all of them, which demonstrates the direction of play with white. Another thing to be mentioned that this structure might appear independently from the move orders. So you will see the game starting with second move g6 in the line. I will just pass through the next moves. Let's say with a general tabia of white, like with the mainstream, which we could see in, but I would say it's also mainstream with knight c6 second, and then in this position bishop g7 and f3, where black would take on d4. So, and also knight f6, knight c3, and take on d4, queen takes d4. It's not related to any particular opening line. The thing we're gonna talk about the chapter number 5 is exactly about the structure with pawn e takes on d5, and I will show you the analysis of the most memorable games, at least for me. So let's start with this diagram, which you could see in the beginning of the video. It appeared from bishop g7, bishop e3, and this line. Black took and got ready to take on d5 immediately. So one of the most important structures emerged, and white might think on the castling queen side. This is very important with very early attack, because black is a little bit delaying. So delaying the starting point of attack on the queen side. Maybe e6 sacrifice was a better try, but of course white would not allow to be pinned on the c file followed by b5. White will immediately start the play, and the position is absolutely unclear. So, but in case black is a little bit ignoring, playing a bit slow with queen b6, they're already under big pressure, and I think it's any advice is kind of impossible to be helpful for them. By just sacrificing the pawn and immediately starting the attack of the king's pawn structure with very big advantage, I suppose white is winning. So the other time this structure appeared in this position. After a couple of moves, black anyway decided to take on d5 and white to input the queen, the knight on d5. So the thing which is really important here, queen f8 move, you will see it several times. Generally, the black's plan is to exchange the dark squared bishops, as you could see in other parts of our book. So this bishop h6 is always in the air. Therefore, white is trying to prevent that. And finally, black takes. So our structure again emerged, and white is trying to attack the e7 pawn, and at the same time to advance the pawns on the queen side to get even more space there. Black has just to wait, because there is no single break. After e6 break, all the light squares become very weak, and maybe there is g3 bishop h3 move, and I believe d6 gonna be lost very soon. White replaced the rooks, and this position of the rooks c1 and b1 is quite useful to be known. It happens in many lines, but in this particular line, it's just helping to advance with b4 and c5. Of course, we do not exchange the bishops, and just preparing and the pushing on the queen side. But now white probably made it in a little bit wrong moment, because after rook a3, black got the full control over the a file. So I would say b4 was a little bit too early. And now black is just entering the white's camp. I don't advise to go here for b4, and as you will see in other games, better I would recommend for white to concentrate on the e-file play. Let's go to this moment. White has played in the previous game of Alexander Motolev in Russian Higher League. In comparison to that game, white tried this rook c2 plan. Again, rook c2, rook b1, queen c1. I will show you with the arrows. Rook b1, queen c1, and potentially preparing a3 and b4. That's the general way of thinking for white, of course, together with knight d5, but we come to this knight d5 position a bit later. So queen b4 is quite interesting plan. Maybe white has spent a little bit too much time for king h1, and black is starting the play with a4. White had to decide what to do, and they decided to go for knight d5, preventing a4 immediately. Black didn't want to get such an endgame now with queen takes d2, bishop d2. a4 would never be possible due to b4, pushing the knight away. So again, after exchanging the queens, it's a little bit worse for black in the endgame. So black is trying to get some play with knight takes b4, followed by a4. I believe, and this is the dream of black, of the counterplay on the queen side. White is preparing b4, but a bit too late. And very important breaks. When you're playing this line, you have to be ready for very important breaks like a4, b5, playing on the dark squares, and black is just in time here with very, very big activity. Let's go to next ideas. So in the line appeared here, knight takes d4, bishop takes d4, bishop d7, bishop is delivering to c6, and black is trying to get ready for queenside play. They want to play a5, they want to have knight c5, queen b6, queen b4, same as we've seen in the previous game. And our structure and kind of starting position, the starting idea of the position has arisen. I have to admit that one of the general dreams for black in this type of the structures is to leave the knight against the light square bishop. So if they manage to get the control over dark squares and to leave the stupid bishop on f3, they would definitely feel comfortable. But somehow with the queens on board, it's not so easy to be arranged, because while starting a very fast play, I especially mention queens on board. Yeah, just try to keep the queens on board from the white side. And this is the game, if I'm not wrong, the game of Alexei Shirov. He's immediately starting the fast play on the king side. And that's the last critical moment. White is catching the pin, and the only chance for black was organizing the play with f5. Yes, I know this is the weakness on e6, this is the very weak pawn on e7, but at least there is some play. Because bishop has to control e4 square, and white might be a bit not in time. So it was a chance, according to engine, for black to fight back. So if you are under such pressure, don't wait until the white would come to your camp. Try to organize at least something. So black reacted passively in the game, playing queen c7. And of course, black would have been very close to another dream. Yeah, to get the knight on e5, to get the pawn on g5, pawn on h6, and then the position is very ideal. But dynamically, it doesn't work. Dynamically, black is not in time. So I show just the move g5, preparing knight e5, f6, h6. That's the interesting try, but unfortunately it doesn't work because white is breaking through with h4, knight e5, yes, attacking the bishop, but this important tempi by the hanging rook just leading to immediate win. Another opportunity arising here after knight e4, bishop d4, bishop c6, and we see the same plan as we could see in the previous parts of this file. So rook a b1, rook f c1, rook c2, queen c1. To prepare a3 before, white doesn't want to trade the pieces because after bishop d4, queen b6, this is the general threat of black. Might be it's not enough advantage in the endgame, so bishops are on board. As many pieces as possible are on board. Now, queen b4 should be impossible here due to the same idea of rook c2 has been shown in the previous moves. So after queen b4, rook c2, a4 doesn't work. In Motilov's game, the rook was on c8, therefore white couldn't achieve the maximum by playing knight d5, but in this position, after a4, knight d5, queen takes d2, this famous trick with intermediate check is allowed. And in case black would skip playing a4, they will try to prepare a4 with, let's say, rook fc8, then just queen c1 appears exactly in time, and a4 would be faced with a3. So this queen b4 plan we could see doesn't work, and black is needed to return with queen d8. Again, you would follow the idea of queen f8, h5, king h7, bishop h6. So the idea exchanging the pieces. But let's come to our structure. Knight d5, bishop d5, e takes d5, again with a different move order, but we came to our structure, and let's take a look how white continues with already correctly placed rooks, so with early a3 and before ideas. First, bishop g5 to, let's say, provoke h6 and to tickle e7 pawn. As we remember by the game of Paravan against Motilov, this was very necessary not to open the b4 too early. Black is coming to our camp then. And now we are preparing the plan on the light squares. So as I already mentioned, the white's bishop might appear via h3 in a game. So g3, b4, And finally, this diagonal, remember about this diagonal h3c8 is quite important because that's the best position, very often the best position for the light squared bishop of white. Black's knight got trapped, and Alexander Khalifman won this game. With king h1, bishop e5, knight e5, again our structure has emerged. These extra moves with king h1 and bishop e5 don't affect very much in the position, but bringing the extra plan for queen on g7. However, I'm not 100% sure that that's the best position for the queen on board. Now white is moving to the center, since this pawn on e7 became a little bit more weak than before. And again, we are preparing the developing of the bishop on h3. So the structure got very pleasant. Of course, we do not trade the dark squared bishops, and we open up the king's side. Black remained without any counterplay of a4 and b5, and this g4, according to game of Linier Dominguez, gives a very important and just direct attack, extremely dangerous. We just covered the main ideas on the structure: knight takes d5, e takes d5, and I remind you for better memorizing to pass through all the positions mentioned on the diagram.